like to call the March 21st, 2024 Airport Commission meeting to order. Will the airport manager please call the roll?
Bias.
Here.
Eoff. Matanaga. Toutfest. Stenga.
Here. Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of the June 15th, 2023 regular meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes to the June 15th meeting last year? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. There's no scheduled public comments or presentations. Are there, Mr. Bias?
No.
Okay, didn't know. Are there any action items? Report from the airport manager.
Thank you, Chair Stenga. I've got a number of items here and a couple others to go over. I'll just start right off the bat with the lease lot and tie down update. Since our last meeting, we've had 2 lease assignments and 2 new leases that have signed at the airport. Details are available at my office or with Shelley in the maintenance office on those. We also have one lease departure that we've been working on at the city. It's either going to be a lease assignment or a lease termination. There's some confusion over the process and which methodology the lessee wants to follow, but both neighbors are desiring the lot. So we're consulting our attorney in Anchorage to make sure that we follow the appropriate process so that the lessee that doesn't end up with the lease is that we're following the protocol appropriately.
Ask what lots they are.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not write it down, but it was the Clearwater Air lease lot. Yep.
Okay.
So working on that internally, I'll follow up with the commission probably via email and certainly at the next meeting, the outcome of that, but working with the attorney to make sure we follow the process in disbursement of that lease, whether it goes to one neighbor or the other, but both desire it. And it's been a long time, never in my career have we had competing interest in a single lease. So it's a good thing for the airport. That concludes my lease lot and tie down update. The airport term contract note, this is something I brought to you previously and is marching up my priority to-do list. And I intend to release the qualifications-based request for proposals to contract with a consultant for a term contract for all things professional services at the airport. Some of the tasks that will be identified in that term contract that are currently unfunded, but are tasks that need to be addressed or completed in the next X number of years include assistance with the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, where there's goal setting and methodology that needs to take place. A re-look at our capital improvement program projects and the master plan that was adopted 8 or 9 years ago. We've been successful in accomplishing many of those CIP projects. So we'll kind of relook at those and reshuffle the deck in terms of priorities for the airport, because those do change over time. There'll be assistance with the airport layout plan and the Exhibit A updates, required documentation for FAA that do need periodic updates. We have for many years talked about a land evaluation and highest and best use, particularly for airport-owned property outside of the perimeter fence. So land side, if you will, specifically properties that are not currently being used for aviation purposes. You know, is there an opportunity for other non-aeronautical use or aeronautical use that would be to positive benefit of the airport and the airport fund and work harmoniously with our objectives out there. So that's kind of a land evaluation. Probably pre-plan a little bit for the next iteration of the master plan as that data gets staler, more and more stale year to year. And then also as required by FAA, another look at revenues and lease rates and where we're at in that cycle. And then something else I wrote down is just Part 139 and commuter service. You know, every now and then there's some discussion over whether or not the city would entertain commuter air service. That's a whole new ball game to be a certificated airport, and it would change a lot of different things. And so don't have any intention to pursue that, but I do know that it's a topic that comes up, and we have heard from stakeholders occasionally that are interested in inquiring about what it would take to do that. So that's something that I would seek some professional services to help assist with going through the FAA regulations and kind of delineating what it might mean to the airport and the information and tools that I can bring back to the Airport Commission to seek your guidance. So those are some of the tasks that I'd be looking at incorporating into the term contract. Again, many of these tasks are not funded at the moment. These are representative tasks and duties that we would put into a qualifications-based, no-fee type contractual relationship with a firm to assist with that. It also enables us to continue to obtain FAA AIP grants, is to have an entity available to assist with some of the grant process, but also the design and construction aspects.
Is the contract with Woods Corthell, is that still in effect, or is that gone?
That has terminated. Yep, that has exceeded. Yep.
So do you have a civil engineer on retainer still, or no?
Just myself.
Okay.
But no, we currently are not under contract. The term contract has expired that we were under. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have somewhat exhausted our airport fund, which is what we use for our local match for FAA grant projects. But fortunately, most of our desired capital projects out there have been accomplished. We've almost replaced every inch of asphalt out there with the exception of the central apron area. We don't have a lot of other assets or infrastructure, you know, at least vertically out there. Brand new runway, edge lighting, et cetera. So we're in pretty good shape. And part of the CIP planning will help us delineate where our priorities are going forward. Currently, as I've noted in the past, it's shifting a little bit more towards equipment purchases to help us with ongoing maintenance, for, you know, particularly snow removal, and then a broom attachment for, you know, sand and gravel and things like that. But I do recognize that we need to have some professional services on retainer and available to assist us, and particularly being nimble with obtaining some of these grants. And I'll jump right into the grant updates. A quick comment on grant opportunities. You know, we have been very successful in getting airport grants, and I think we'll continue to be successful. There's a lot of information and data about huge sums of money for different sectors, whether it's water and sewer and et cetera. But FAA has been taking advantage of, you know, congressionally appropriated funds for a lot of billions and billions of airport infrastructure. Unfortunately, most of the new funding has been geared towards towers and terminals, neither of which we have at the Salatin Airport. So we have not been seeking out or able to capture some of that specific economic development funding that's been out there. But another grant update, Runway 725. As you're aware, the construction phase is complete. We actually just re-closed out that project a couple of weeks ago. It was funded through a special pot of money that is a little bit inflexible as compared to the AIP grant programming. Our grant agreement indicated that we had the traditional 15% contingency overrun available to us. And we did get into that on that project. And with FAA's concurrence for those over expenditures, we exceeded the grant amount by a small amount over into that 15% contingency. And when we went to close it out, the FAA notified us that lo and behold, the fine print said subject to availability, and that money was not available. But the good news is they assisted in strategizing and devising a workaround, which will entail FAA Alaska region giving us a new grant for that project. And so we're carving out some of the construction administration and inspection funds, but we will have to go through the process to accept and appropriate a new grant to cover nearly all of that. There will be about 20,000-ish of airport funds that will be our required match, 6.25% on this new grant. So it's a bummer that we'll have to use a little bit of funds, but it's still a smoking deal to leverage over $7 million of FAA monies for that project. So that new grant process is underway, and it will be it'll go through the standard protocol and go before council for their adoption and approval to accept and sign the grant, and then formal appropriation, and then we'll turn around and close that grant out and get the reimbursement from FAA. So a little convoluted, but and a lot more administrative work, but it will end okay. I'll take a quick pause. Are there any questions so far? Otherwise, I'll bop right into the next one, which is simply a winter operations debrief. I wanted to put this in there, talk to Airport Commission and the public in regards to what they saw and receive feedback and comments. I can report that I believe we only had to close the runway 2 or 3 times this winter due to water on ice. We worked with FAA in regards to the NOTAMs and reporting and when they require a full closure, which is runway on ice. I'm sorry, water on ice. So that was good. We did have to sand, I think, twice, which we try not to do just because of the abrasive nature of sand out there, but we do need it to be safe. Our seasonal employee policy and protocol that we started last year, I believe, and again this year, seems to be really working well. Dedicating a seasonal employee to prompt work at the airport. We did not receive any significant complaints. In fact, we did receive several positive notes and feedback. So, but I'm eager to hear what airport commissioners or anybody else might have.
I had no complaints for this winter, and I think they did a nice job. Even if I took feedback, if you did go out and see something you wanted done different. Airport
Great.
User, snow removal.
I've never operated back there.
It's good. Excellent.
Yeah, I think this year was done very well.
Great. Okay, excellent. A couple more items while we're under airport manager report. State Forestry has continued to reach out to me and have a discussion regarding their muted interest in potentially leasing with the Soldotna Airport, a large lease lot, particularly on the east end. And so they're investigating how that might improve their operations. They have both their facility on the hill, kind of leaving Soldotna towards Sterling, and then they have a tanker base in Kenai. It's unclear right now what exactly they might be interested in doing at the city of Soldotna, but those talks continue. Nothing happens fast. I did have a conversation with them today to catch up, and my understanding is that the state legal office has some comments and questions. So that process will continue to grind out. I'll report back as I know more. And then finally, lucky us, we've been selected for a land use compliance audit by the FAA. We've already supplied underlying airport property deeds and land use agreement and lease and permit data. We've submitted a airside permit and lease lot lists that includes, you know, dates and terms, size and type of leaseholds. They will reportedly select a small number of leases to review from that log and request hard copies of those. There'll also be a follow-up on-site visit that's tentatively scheduled for the first week of June of this year. So more to come on that, but we're cooperating and collaborating with FAA on this land use compliance audit. So I have no reason to believe that we won't pass with flying colors. So I welcome their visit in June. And that concludes my airport manager report.
Thank you. Commissioner Chair's report. I have none. Report from Maintenance Manager Sundberg, who's not in attendance. Report from City Manager Bauer, also not in attendance. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment? Mr. Bias?
I think they're good.
Super, none. Council comments from Member Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things. In February, the mayor, myself, the city manager, and Councilmember Chilson, we were in Juneau for Municipal League and met with delegation advocating our legislative priorities for the city. Doesn't include anything specific with the airport at this time. And then last week we were in Washington, DC and had some very good meetings with all of the members of our congressional delegation, as well as great meeting with USDA, Rural Development Administration, and they had a copy of our legislative priorities because we were looking at the picture, using the picture in there. And then they started looking at the legislative priorities and they went through and they were like, well, you know, you could get a 3% loan for this and you could get, you know, we could help you with this project here and there. And so they identified all the potential opportunities. And what did we have? 4 engineers on that call, Kyle? There were a lot of engineers, and so there was a lot of discussion. And it was very good discussion. Our next council meeting will be next Wednesday, the 27th. Things are going well with the field house, which is keeping Kyle, I'm sure, very busy. And then we, at our meeting in February, adopted the riverfront development plan for developing and looking at developing the property between the Sterling Highway and the river, basically from Fred Meyer down to the bridge at K Beach. And it's a 20-year plan. It's something that's going to take time. And a next step will be looking at what is our next phase of implementation, because it will be definitely developed over time and in phases. So we're blessed that things are going well at the city, and that Kyle's been doing a great job as the acting city manager, as well as his other duties. So that's it.
Thank you. Comments from the commissioners? We'd like to welcome Greg Mordenaga. Thank you. Thank you. I do have a couple questions for you, Kyle. Have you heard any more on the Crowley putting a potential fuel dock out there in a second source?
I have not. I'm struggling to even remember the last time I was approached by them, but I believe I reported it back to the airport commission at that time, and
You have
nothing,
You haven't heard
zero.
anything.
No.
The other question I had is the fence repair. Is it snowed yet?
Yeah, there are several fence repairs to be conducted. The entities that, yeah, you stirred some stuff up there. So I made it, there's some fence repairs will be occurring as soon as weather permits this spring.
Okay.
Before any further new hangar construction occurs.
And what is the status that last we heard on the airplanes down on the west end that are not paying their fees and haven't for years? And you were trying to
Yes.
deal with the feds on that and the attorneys.
I have a folder on that. A couple of them resolved themselves. One aircraft was donated to a local nonprofit who then decided it was too much for them and donated it to another local nonprofit that's back at the airport. And they inquired with us to make sure there was no liens and other things associated with it. I'll have to check my folder on the other one. Some of them came clean.
Some
So,
came
yeah,
clean,
yep.
there might be one.
There
or
might be a
two out
couple
there.
hanging out there, yeah, and I will make sure that I have that,
No, I was just
that
curious.
report, yeah. Small,
Uh,
small progress, enough that, that I shifted my focus.
Anything else? Any other comments? I'd like to adjourn today's meeting, and the next meeting of the Airport Commission will be scheduled for June 20th, 2024 at 5:30. We're done?